Here's our golf analyst, Bob Weeks from Rochester, New York, where the PGA Championship is taking place at the Oak Hill East course. Bob, it's been a few strange months for Rory McIlroy. He misses the cut at both the Players' Championship in March and the Masters in April. Then he takes a month off before finishing tied for 47th a couple of weeks ago at the Wells Fargo. Now, FanDuel has him third at plus 1,300 to win this weekend. How did he sound to you on the podium this morning, and do you have confidence in him this weekend?
Yeah, he sounded pretty confident. He sounded a little bit more relaxed than the last time we've been talking to him. He has not played well by his own admission. He's had some swing issues that he's been dealing with. He said he felt better playing at Quail Hollow at the Wells Fargo, and in the week that he's taken off since that time to get here. He also said, though, that the biggest thing is he's sort of not really expecting too much, and that is a good thing for Rory McIlroy. He's been carrying the flag for the Live talks with the PGA Tour on the PGA Tour side. He's been dealing with a lot of different issues other than golf, and I think it just became overwhelming, and really his golf started to define who he was. He was playing poorly, and he felt poorly about himself. I think he's now refreshed. I think he's looking for kind of a new start here, a restart, let's call it. And I do have some faith in his game because I think that he can tackle this golf course. It's a long course, and he's a long hitter.
Let's talk Phil Mickelson and the Live golfers. Some say Phil is the defending champion here since he didn't play at last year's PGA, didn't get a chance to defend his 2021 championship. Now he finished tied for second at the Masters. What are you expecting from Phil, and what are you expecting out of the Live players? Who do you expect to have the best tournament out of them?
Well, if you're talking about Phil, I think when you talk about Phil and the Masters, those two are so synonymous because he has played so well there and he knows that golf course just about better than anyone, maybe outside of Tiger Woods. So I think the performance he put on there, a lot of that had to do with local knowledge. He doesn't have that at this golf course, and he's also pretty wild with the driver. We know that he has a little bit of trouble keeping it on the fairway, and the rough here is very, very penal. So I'm not so certain that he'll do so well here. The last time he played here in 2013 at the PGA Championship, he only beat two people. So his track record here is not as good as it was at Augusta National. As for the rest of the field, Brooks Koepka is a guy who plays well in big championships, and he's strong enough to tackle the rough here, get the club through it if he happens to hit it in there. And Dustin Johnson is coming off a win at the last Live event. He finished tied for 8th here in 2013, and he, of course, has a record of playing very well on very difficult golf courses. He won the U.S. Open at Oakmont, and I think that is something that you can't really overlook. I think he's coming in here maybe a little bit under the radar, but he'd be a guy I'd keep an eye on.
It's been 10 years since the PGA has been held at the Oak Hill East course. Jason Duffner won that event in 2013, but it is a different course now, Bob. What are the differences, and who does this course favor the most?
Yeah, this golf course has undergone a tremendous overdue, I guess you might want to call it. They've changed a lot of the greens. They've actually gotten rid of certain holes, replaced them. But I think the biggest factor here are going to be the greens. There's a lot of roll-off areas and some deep bunkers around them, and you just can't afford to try and attack pins here and miss on the wrong side. So I think you're going to see a lot of people who will be very happy to hit the ball in the middle of the green and just two-putt from there. But this is a big ballpark. Par 4s all right around 500. Par 3s up around 230 yards and 600 and change for the par 5s. So it's a big golf course that's going to favor the guys who can hit it long and those who can hit it straight.
Finally, Bob, one or two potential favorites for this weekend from you?
Well, I will tell you who I do like. This golf course sets up perfectly for Corey Connors. If you want to talk about straight off the tee and straight into the greens, I love the way Corey Connors plays. It'll just depend on how his putting is. He said to us today while we were walking around with him that he said he's been putting very well, so he feels good about that. Another guy that I like here has been playing in spurts pretty well is Gary Woodland. And I think that if you look at his game, again, it comes down to whether or not he'll perform on the greens, but he's been working very, very hard. We're seeing some better results from him on the greens in his last few starts. So those are two guys who are probably, at least in Woodland's case, a little bit off the radar for Canadians. But Corey Connors, I think, will lead a pack of 6 Canadians, which is the most we've ever had in the PGA Championship, starting on Thursday.
Thanks for this, Bob, and we will talk to you after round 1. That'll be on Thursday.
Take care.